Today I'm going to talk with you about Chapter 8, at least the first section of Chapter 8. I've broken this one into 4 sections because it is rather complex, and each of these sections will help move you along kind of brain-wise as well. The first one is kind of the introduction, getting used to vocabulary and such, and then the second section is about diagramming two variable Venn diagrams, categorical logic that way. Third section is the 3 variable stuff, and then the last section is kind of some shortcut ways to make sure that our statements are equal, similar, true, false, whatever. And so that's kind of how that breaks down. So this first section, we're going to look at the first 2 big sections in the book. In Chapter 8 is statements and classes, and then translations and standard forms. It's 10 pages of work. It's 11 slides, and so I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly so that you're not sitting here too bored. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that categorical logic is different from the propositional logic we had with truth tables, okay, back in Chapter 7. And I apologize in advance if I ever call this Chapter 7, because as you know, it used to be 7, now it's 8. And so I have to kind of wrap my head around not just a little bit of new information, but also kind of, this is where it comes. This is where it comes from. So I apologize in advance if I tell you it's in Chapter 7 when all of this is in Chapter 8. Okay. So on page 266, you have some, the outline of the chapter, of course, and then some introduction stuff here. Categorical logic, okay. Instead of looking at the relationship between 2 different statements, okay, like we were doing with the propositional logic, we're looking at the relationships between items in a statement, a particular statement, a categorical statement. And really, those that make simple assertions about categories or classes of things, okay? This is my kind of thing, and I think this is the same one that Dr. Vaughn uses too. All cats are carnivores, okay? This is my kind of proof text deal. This contains all 4 parts that these categorical statements are going to have, and it's only 4 words, so it's not too hard. And the first thing we're going to think about is our terms, our variables in other language, what we're going to do with our S and P. Okay, so S is our subject term, P is our predicate term. Yay, finally the letters stand for something. And we're going to do this in 4 different ways. Okay, so categorical statement, standard form. This is our big deal. All SRP, all cats are carnivores. No SRP, no cats are carnivores. Some SRP, some cats are carnivores. Some S are not P, some cats are not carnivores. These are the only 4 shapes that our standard forms can take. And anything that is a categorical statement will fit into one of these. Now, you might have to do some adjustments, some translating. And then we're going to work with, the only thing we're going to shortcut here are the S and P. Okay, everything else we're going to write out because there's too many things to pop together. So these are the 4 standard forms, okay, and they each have 4 parts, okay. Well, really kind of 5 points, but 4 points. So you have the subject term, the predicate term, our S and P, and the only thing we do with that is that the subject is the thing doing, and we always put it first. Now in English we can put it anywhere we want, right? You know, depends upon our need or our emphasis, but for this particular kind of thing, the subject is the thing doing, and the predicate term is the thing being. It'll make more sense when we get to practice it a little bit. The copula, subject term and the predicate term have to be nouns or noun clauses, okay? The copula is a linking verb. I know it's taking me back to what, 5th grade grammar kind of stuff, but it's okay. Are or are not, those are your only choices. Quantifiers are quantity, some, none, or all. Again, those are the only choices you have. If it's a universal, it's an all or no. Particulars are some. And when we get to translating statements and things, anything that is not all or none gets translated as some sort of sum. Okay, some means at least one. Then there's the quality, okay, which is the some, all, no, not, affirmative or negative. So all SRP, all is a universal, and R is our affirmative. Okay, so all SRP, we're all good. Did I do that right? Quantifier. Okay, anyway, these guys get mixed up in my head, so don't stress if they get mixed up in yours. So all SRP is a universal affirmative, and way back with Aristotle, they gave them letters to go in front, and it's A, E, I, and O, so vowels in order. All SRP, no SRP is our E statement, universal negative, okay? Some SRP, our I statement, is a particular affirmative. That means you're going to have to look at the itty bitty pieces. It doesn't apply all across the board. Some S are not P is our O statement, and that's a particular negative. Okay, so not too hard, just a lot of new kind of vocabulary there. I would encourage you on your notes, on your reading log, that you put the definitions and give some examples there, because I am breaking this up pretty small. Now this first set is 10 pages, so easy to get a page out of that. If you look at the top of page, do I want to go there yet? Oh no, I have to do a couple other things yet. Sorry. So all categorical statements should fit into one of these four, and any that fit into one of these four act the same way. So any statement that fits this particular template will act the same way, will have the same way that we find truth values and all that kind of fun stuff. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're looking, we just blew through 3 pages of stuff here. On page 271, there's some logic help from the web. I would add to that, I'm just going to write it down here, purplemath.com. And not just for logic help, although they do a really good job with Venn diagrams and things, and they do a very good job with a bunch of other stuff. But if you forgot how algebra works, or if you need to help somebody else with their math and you had it a while ago, Purple Math is your friend. They have really good explanations, nice videos. Some of them are a little corny, but you know, it's math. And it also has self-grading questions. Okay, so you can like practice and do stuff and see if you got it right. The other one that I really like is the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It's IEP.org. I have those supplemental videos and articles that I have up on our Blackboard page. A lot of them come from IEP. It's a very good encyclopedia for anything humanities-wise, philosophy-wise especially, but they have a lot of really good stuff there anyway, if you're into that kind of stuff. Geeks. Anyway, one of the things that this particular type of logic helps us with is figuring out where things fit, how many, when, you know, all those things that we're kind of worried about with arguments. You have to practice. You have to practice, which is why you have homework and such. But when you're walking through this, the standard form, okay, is here not just to help us streamline things, although it does a very good job of that. It's also there to help us figure out the boundaries. And you can say S and know a particular quantity or particular category works. And how well that category fits with the other one in the sentence, that's going to tell us how we draw things. But that's on the next video. If you look at page 270, we translate ordinary statements into standard form categorical statements so we can handle them more efficiently. The same reason we used all those PQR and the and if then and all that for propositional logic. We want to streamline the structure of our argument because structure is what gives us validity. And we want to see how that works out then. If we can't make it work, then it's an invalid argument. Okay, so that's where we're headed with this. Okay, so if you're going to look at, I'm going to get rid of that. You have to think about how this is going to work in the wild, so to speak. And Dr. Bond is very helpful and gives us basically a cheat sheet on page 275, and we'll get there in just a minute. When we get to page 272, 273, he walks us through a few examples, okay? English has some interesting pieces, okay? So if we have a sentence like this, all dogs are faithful, we may think we already have a standard form. Well, let's check. Okay, this is our subject term. It's a noun, so it's okay. Faithful has to be our predicate term, right? But faithful is an adjective, okay? And if you remember this from grammar class, this is a predicate nominative, right? So we have to think about things. So here's our deal. Dogs are faithful pets. That way we have a noun, okay? That's our translation. So that's our P. So anytime we see that later on in our argument, we can just label it P. It's all good, okay? So this is all S are P. Okay, that was fairly easy, right? What about something like this? Some people waste money. We got excited because we have this sum. And we know that's one of our introductory words there. That's one of our quantifiers. So, we're looking at it. And, okay, but we need an R. Right? We have to have a linking verb. Otherwise, it's not a categorical foundation statement. So, I'm going to change some things. I'm going to get a different color because I can. So, this is probably our S, but how do I get this, which is a regular verb and then, a direct object? How do I make this into this kind of thing? So I'm going to need R, right? Some people are people who waste money, right? Now, this whole thing here is my S. Now, before we were talking about what S's and P, what S's and P's are nouns, right? But they're also, they can be noun clauses, noun phrases, the things that go with it to make it a noun, right? Some people are people who waste money. Okay, we have to have that, otherwise it's just kind of silly. So this is a some SRP, where P is people who waste money. Okay, so we can translate just about anything. A statements, okay, at the bottom, the middle of 273. Only palm readers are wise counselors. All wise counselors are palm readers. Anytime you have an only, that's an all, okay? Only if, only crimes prosecuted or murders. All those things have to be alls. And to get a little bit better at the alls and nones and things, page 275. I have a little tab marker on my page 275 because when I'm looking at exercises, arguments, and I'm not quite sure, is this some are, not? It has people, yeah. It has phrasing here that you can say, oh, if it says any car is a vehicle, any mountain is a molehill, any Mask is cotton. We have, that is an all mountains are molehills, that kind of thing. E statements, all humans are non-reptiles. No humans are reptiles, okay? So we're going to translate these. We can't leave them as they are, but when we see these forms, you know, this template, we know it fits under these particular boxes. So those are good ones to get to. Now, sometimes we have problems, like nothing breakable is a warehouse item. No breakable things are warehouse items, okay? We need to make sure that we're putting it into formal, translatable formats there so that we can play with them more precisely. And those are the pieces for our first section. There are other things called singular statements. Usually these have somebody's name in them, usually. So Fido is a cat. Fido is the only member of set S, okay? So we would say, we would translate first, all cats named Fido are cats. How about we make it a little less redundant and say all pets named Fido are cats, okay? So then we can go all SRP. You got to walk through the steps of these translations. You have to follow the directions so you get full credit. However you want to think about this, this is our introduction. This is how this works. And so if you have questions, let me know. You know where I am. You have my email. But make sure that you're working through your page reading log for 8A and then do the assignment for 8A. I also have a video for homework for Chapter 8, and I'll walk through one each of the things in the exercises that have been assigned, and so you can have some practice that way. So I hope you're doing well. Don't let this overtake you. Don't let this overwhelm you. It'll be fine. It's just a little bit.